Over the summer, I made a video about how the 1994 Giants turned their season around following a disastrous 3-7 start. That video is in the upper right corner. What it boils down to was simple. After 10 games, head coach Dan Reeves decided to completely overhaul the playbook. He had each player write down their favorite plays, and then would only call those plays. In other words, he simplified things by listening to his players, and it wound up paying off big time, as the Giants' offense improved over the final 6 weeks and finished the season 6-0 to nearly make the playoffs with a 9-7 record. But as it turns out, he did a similar tactic while he was the head coach of the Denver Broncos. In 1992, he decided to turn over the play calling duties to John Elway for a big game against the New York Jets, and it paid off big time. This is the story of the time John Elway called his own game and his own plays and got great results. First, we need a bit of context. In the first half of the 1992 season, the Broncos were struggling a bit on offense. Entering the bye week, they were coming off of a loss to the San Diego Chargers, where they turned it over 3 times. In one Monday Night Football game against Washington, they lost 34-3 while turning it over 4 times and picking up just 7 first downs. And amazingly enough, that was not even their most putrid offensive performance up until that point, because a month prior against Philadelphia, they lost 30-0 with 4 first downs and 82 yards of total offense. Yes, the Broncos were doing alright with a 5-3 record at the halfway point, but things could have been going much better, especially for Elway, who had thrown more interceptions than touchdowns at this point. The first game after the bye week was against the lowly New York Jets, who were sitting at 2-6 and were one of the worst teams in football. For Denver, who was atop the AFC West by a game, this felt like a must-win, and a relatively easy game if they wanted to maintain their lead and start the second half of their season with a bang. And so Dan Reeves had an idea. He decided to let John Elway call the plays, giving him complete control. Now, it should be noted that they tried this in 1991 for a bit, but it was a disaster, as Elway scrapped the idea since he was in charge of not only the plays, but getting the right personnel and the formations in there. He was doing way too much. For this 1992 experiment, however, his job was going to be simplified to just calling the plays. And the result? Arguably their best offensive performance of the season. The Broncos won the game 27-16. The 27 points were a season high. At the time, the 375 yards of total offense was a season high. The 19 first downs were the 3rd most they got all season, and the 261 passing yards were the 2nd most they got all season. And for those that are going to say that it came against the Jets, as bad as the 4-12 Jets were that year, the pass defense was not the problem, as they ranked in the top half of the league in passing yards, passing touchdowns, and interceptions. Elway and the offense were just that good. Reeves had nothing but praise for his quarterback after, saying that Elway did a good job of calling the plays and mixing them up, and that he was comfortable and confident. As for Elway, while he was a bit skeptical at first since it didn't work out so well in 1991, he agreed to the decision about 48 hours before game time, and decided that he wanted to be aggressive right from the start. And safe to say, it worked out. While the Broncos would falter down the stretch and would finish the season outside of the postseason with an 8-8 record, this game is a pretty good reminder to coaches that sometimes they overthink things. Sometimes, the best way to call a game is to just trust your players, figure out what they're comfortable with, and go from there. Because in 1992, in arguably their best performance of the season, that's exactly what the Broncos did. Be sure to check out Twitch every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern for your chance to play NFL Trivia and win cash prizes. Link in the description below. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. So you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.